Welcome everybody. Good morning and welcome. Good morning and welcome to Activate Her with me, Sally Goodwin, and this episode of Friday Feast, where we get to feast on the word of the Lord and feast on everything about him, on his love and his goodness and his mercy and his faithfulness. And we get to feast together, not just on our own, but corporately together. We get to feast on God, feast on his word, feast on being in the presence of like-minded people, lovers of Jesus, laid down lovers of Jesus. And it is a wonderful thing. It is a privilege and a blessing. Good morning, wonderful Volna, to be able to spend this time together and just feast on the word of God. Good morning, heroic Hilda. Good morning, joyful Jackie. Wonderful to see you all this morning. So good to have you back, Hilda. Welcome, famous Chantel. Good morning, special Sylvia. Welcome, my wonderful Hilette friend. Welcome this morning to Activate Her with me, Sally Goodwin, and to Friday Feast. Friday Feast, where we just get to feast on the word of the Lord and on God himself. Good morning, Conrad. Blessings, love, favor, and shalom to you too. So good to see you on the live this morning. And just for those of you who don't know, our beautiful Rosemary Rhoda and Conrad will be leading a tour to Israel in May this year. So if you're looking for, if you're wanting to go to Israel and you're wanting to go, you feel like that's what God is telling you to do, then you need to get in touch with Rose or Conrad. The advert is on the flyer, is on Rose's page. So you can go and look for all the details there. I will try and remember to share it, but so often I say that I'm going to share things on this page and then I forget, but I will try and remember to share it. But if God has been speaking to you about going to Israel, then going with Rose and Conrad is an absolute blessing and a privilege. So please have a look at that if that's something you feel God is calling you to do. Good morning, amazing Anisha. Welcome. It is such a privilege to feast on the word of the Lord, Sylvia. An absolute privilege. And it's just this morning I woke up. Good morning, terrific Tamsin. Good morning, amazing Arena. Good morning, special Simone. Good morning, my Charlene friend. Welcome, my darling. Good morning, Estrelita. And yes, I thought I'd missed somebody, but I haven't. Those of you who also know, while we're waiting for everybody else to join, amazing Charlene is the incredible woman who sews into my social media presence, if you can call it that, and designs all the beautiful covers for my videos, and just generally she designed the flyer for the prophetic school, everything social media related, or when I need anything beautiful to go online. Charlene is the person who does that for me. She has a company called Brandbox, and she's an absolute social media and marketing whiz, and she just designs the most beautiful stuff. Every time she does something for me, I'm just blown away by how beautiful it is. And so if you know of anybody who needs anything like that, websites, she does websites as well. If you're looking for a website, if you know of anybody who needs that, or you need that yourself, please contact Charlene and get in touch with her, so that because she's just incredible, amazing, and so super, super talented. And can we also just please be praying for her, because she has been juggling a job and her own business. She is an amazing woman of God, and she has a daughter. She's a single mom with a daughter, and she looks after her very elderly grandparents who live with her. Good morning, beautiful Bronwyn. And so she's been juggling a job, a demanding job, and her own business. And she actually has reached the point of burnout, where she has had to leave her job. And I'm sorry, my friend, I'm just sharing your life here on this platform, but I so just want everybody to be praying for you. So if you could just be praying for Charlene, just pray for healing, for supernatural touch from the Lord. And just if you could just pray, good morning, amazing Anthea. Pray as well that she will get enough work in through her business to be able to look after and take care of all the many responsibilities that she has. So if you could all just be praying for Charlene. She's a powerful, anointed woman of God, an amazing person. And just, yes, there we go. She's put down one of the balls now. and so she's feeling better. But if we could just be praying for her, really, because she sows without hesitation into my ministry. And I don't have, one of my beautiful friends from America said to me a little while ago, good morning, Radiant Renee, said to me a little while ago, just ask your team, ask one of your team to do this or do that or do the next thing. Good morning, beautiful Brigitte. Have a wonderful day and enjoy the replay. And I said to her, I don't have a team. This is South Africa, I don't have a team. There's me and Charlene, basically, who does all of this for nothing for me. So we just pray just 100-fold blessing on Brandbox, on Charlene, on her business, because of the way that she just absolutely sows into this ministry without hesitation, without ever saying that she can't, or she sits up at midnight in bed designing things for me. And so I just speak 100-fold return over you, my friend. So, and just complete health and wellness and well-being, and that you will prosper as your soul prospers, in Jesus' name. Good morning, Sylvia. Lovely to see you on this morning. And oh goodness, there's a big noise happening outside. I'm not sure what that was. So welcome, everybody. It's so good to see you this morning, and so good to have you all online with me. So good to spend time with family, with community in this church without walls. And it looks like I always forget this is mirrored, and that when what I think is the right side isn't the right side, but I just realized that my hair's sticking up. Good morning, Radiant Reneel Way. Lovely to have you on the live, my special friend. So good. I'm 70 on my team. Thank you, Hilda. Thank you. So exciting, guys. Just under a week left before the prophetic school starts. Next Thursday, the 29th of February, 2024, the prophetic school will start. Good morning, Jubilant Jolene. Welcome, my gorgeous friend. The prophetic school will be starting, and it will be our very first meeting, our very first time together at this prophetic school, and it is going to be wonderful. It's going to be wonderful. Sam Robertson from the Global Prophetic Alliance good morning, lovely Louise, has promised me that he will send a word, a prayer, I'm not sure whether he's going to record something or type something out, but he is going to send something that I can release over all of you on the first meeting. And the team at Global Prophetic Alliance in Glasgow, Scotland, are praying for us. They're praying for the prophetic school. They're praying that God will do what only God can do. And I'm just super excited to see you all. I'm super excited to gather, because there's so many of you from this online community that are coming, and I'm super excited to gather twice a month on a Thursday evening and actually just be together in the presence of the Lord and let God do what God does. I'm super excited about that. And then I do have a couple of people who have reached out to me who are not in Cape Town and have said that they would be interested in the Zoom prophetic school, doing it via Zoom. So if that is you, like my lovely Louise friend from New Zealand, she has said that she would like to do the online prophetic school. So if that is you, if you are not in Cape Town but you would like to do the prophetic school online, I'm looking at probably Tuesday evenings. And it would then start the week after. So if we start the prophetic in-person prophetic school starts on the 29th of February, then the online or the Zoom school will start the following week, Tuesday evenings. I'm looking at Tuesday evenings, so let me know if you're interested. Let me know if a Tuesday evening works for you. I just need to get a certain amount of people to make it worthwhile. Not that doesn't sound right, but you know what I mean. To make it feasible for me to block that time off to Tuesday evenings a month. So yes, so let me know, reach out to me if that is you and you are interested, you are outside of Cape Town and you are interested in doing that. So it is so good to see you all. Please can we also be praying for our beautiful Bertha friend? She has not been well. That's why she's not on the live this morning. She hasn't been well and she hasn't been sleeping very well. So if we could just be praying for beautiful Bertha as well, please, that would be amazing. And then if you could please like and share this live broadcast, because you are all my media missionaries, my digital evangelists. As Hilda said, you are my team. Good morning, Radiant Roz. Welcome, my friend. You are my team. You are the people who surround me. And so if you could like and share this broadcast, that would be amazing. And also, just for those of you who have signed up for the prophetic school, please, I do have all of your registration forms. You will get a communication, an email communication from me. It's just, I'm waiting. I have been waiting for people who've said that they're going to sign up, and I'm still waiting for them to sign up. But so that I can just send one communication out, and it's not kind of piecemeal, but here and there. But thank you, Jackie. Team Sally. But yeah, so if you do want to register and you haven't registered yet, please do. And if you have registered and you're wondering whether I've received your registration form, I definitely have received it. I just need time to send that email of confirmation out. Okay, so it is Friday today. It is Friday the 23rd of February, and it is the 23rd of February 2024. And Pete, I must send you, I've got your email address. I will send you the link. Sorry, I haven't done that yet, but I will send it to you today. The link to the prophetic school. So it is Friday the 23rd of February 2024, and it is the 14th of Adar 5784. Louise, any idea what time? It would probably be the same time as the sorry if you can hear that noise in the background. It's the people next door's generator. We have load shedding at the moment. It will probably be the same time as the in-person prophetic school, which would be 7 till about 9:30 our time, South African time. So just let me know if that works for you. I'm not sure about the time difference, but let me know if that works for you. So good morning, terrific Tilly. Welcome, my friend. So today is the 14th of Adar 5784. And so normally in a year that isn't a Hebrew leap year, we would be celebrating Purim and the Feast of Esther. But when it is a Jewish leap year, which 5784 is, we have 2 months of Adar, like I've explained to you before. Good morning, magnificent Machta. So we have Adar 1, which is what we're in now. And when Adar 1 is finished, we move into Adar 2. And the Jewish people move the Feast of Purim into Adar 2 when they have a Jewish leap year. So although today is the 14th of Adar, which would generally be the Feast of Purim, and we would be remembering everything that God did through Esther for the people of Israel, we are actually just conscious of the fact that yes, it is that around that time, but we don't celebrate it in Adar 1, we only celebrate it in Adar 2. So that is where we are right now in terms of the Hebrew calendar. And but it's still, Esther has been very much on my mind and in my heart, and Daniel as well. So today I want to look at a psalm that I'm absolutely sure is a favorite of a lot of yours, but because we've been speaking about hope, and we've been speaking about, and after I released the word on Wednesday, I had so many people reaching out to me just saying how they are in this iffy kind of transition space where they feel as though they have been waiting on the Lord for so long, and he's still, and what he has promised or what he has told them will happen still hasn't happened. And they're just in this space where they feel ready almost to give up, where they are despondent, and, just in this very strange space. And we've been speaking about hope. On Monday we listened to Sally Davidson give her incredible word about hope. On Wednesday I spoke about hope. Deferred makes the heart sick, but when a desire is fulfilled, it is the tree of life. And we spoke about how Jesus is our ultimate desire, and as long as we focus on him as our hope, we are overcomers, and then we are able to draw from the tree of life because of everything that it says in various other scriptures that I'm not going to repeat now. And so as I woke up this morning, I was thinking about Esther and about Daniel, and just about these people in the Old Testament, not specifically because they're in the Old Testament, but just because it's that time of the year. And I've been just thinking about how, we read these stories, and we read these stories about these heroes of the faith, heroes of the Old Testament, these people who we see as doing these incredible things, like Esther and like Daniel, for example. And I think firstly, we read the story and we know the ending, so we feel confident in the way the story ended, and we forget often, and I know I say this over and over again, but because we need to remember that the people in those stories didn't know how the story was going to end. They had faith and they had hope in God, but they didn't know how the story was going to end. They didn't know how it was actually all going to work out. They didn't know until the story had ended how it was going to end. And I was thinking also of how, I saw something the other day, a meme or something, about how, God didn't remove the Red Sea when the Israelites needed to cross it, when the Egyptians were coming after them, and they had the Egyptians behind them and the Red Sea in front of them. God didn't remove the Red Sea, and he could have, supernaturally, he could have just removed the Red Sea and allowed them to cross and then put it back again. I mean, he's God. He created all of that, so he can do with it what he wants. But he didn't. He didn't remove it. He waited for Moses to step out in faith. He gave Moses an instruction, and then he waited for Moses to step out in faith, and then he parted the Red Sea. They still had to stand in front of it. They still had to cross on the dry riverbed, but with the walls of water piled up on each side, which it must have been thrilling and amazing and incredible, but frightening at the same time. These walls of water piled up on each side of the Israelites as they crossed, and it wasn't just 3 of them or 4 of them or 100 of them, it was millions of them. And then they had the Egyptian army approaching fast and furiously from behind them, and they all had to get across with their children, with their animals, all of that. And then I was thinking again about Daniel in the lion's den, about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, in the fire, in the furnace, about Esther in the palace of the king. And I was thinking how God didn't remove the things that they had to walk through. He's God. He could have given the king a dream, like he did with he has done with other kings that don't believe in him, where he's given them dreams about what will happen to them if they pursue a specific, think of Abraham, when Abraham lied and said that Sarah was his sister, and the king took her because she was beautiful, and he took her to be, part of his harem, and God visited him in a dream and said, if you touch that woman, you will die. And God could have visited these kings in dreams. He could have, done whatever. He could have stopped Daniel from having to go into the lion's den. He could have stopped Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego from having to go into the fires. He could have, miraculously delivered the Jewish people from Haman's plot. And instead of having Esther, who literally laid her life down, because we know that she never left the palace. And we know as well, Daniel never left. Daniel fasted for 21 days. He fasted for the word of the Lord to come to pass, that had said that after the 70 years were up, the Israelites would be allowed to go back to Jerusalem. And when Daniel read that, he fasted for 21 days for that to come to pass, for that to be a reality. But he himself never returned. He himself never returned. And when he was facing the lion's den, God didn't say to him, my boy, you have been through enough. You have been taken from your homeland as a young boy. You've had to live in this palace. You have had to be taught all of these things that you don't believe in, but you have had to be taught. You've had to mix and mingle with magicians and people who worship false gods, and learn all of these dark arts and magic. You've had to do all of this. You constantly have to stand in faith that you won't be taken out or killed by people who are jealous of your success and your wisdom and your revelation that comes straight from the word of the Lord. You constantly living in this space where you're needing to appease this king, and then you being put in this place where they're asking you to bow down to a statue of the king. And God didn't say to him, you know what, Daniel, it's okay. I know in your heart that you only believe in me and that you only worship me, so it's okay if you bow down to the statue. I know that you don't mean it. God didn't say that to him. And then he didn't say to him, you know what, you have suffered enough, my child. You have suffered enough. You have been through enough. This has been so hard for you. I'm just going to take the lions away. Because you have laid your life down for your nation to fulfill what I've called you to fulfill. You're never going to leave this place. You're never going to get to go back to your homeland, even though a whole lot of your people will. So, you have done enough. You have suffered enough. You have sacrificed enough. I'm just going to give the king a dream and tell him to leave you alone. I'm just going to take the lions away, make them all disappear or die before you actually get in the lion's den. He didn't do that. He allowed Daniel to be put in the lion's den. He allowed Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to be put into the fiery furnace. He allowed Esther to be human trafficked, basically, and stuck in the king's harem. He allowed all of that to happen. And God knew the outcome. And Daniel and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and Esther, they had faith for the outcome, but they didn't know. They had faith for the outcome. Daniel, said, my God will shut the mouths of the lions. He had faith for that. But we need to remember that these were ordinary people. I think sometimes we imbue these people with, kind of these characteristics that they were better or stronger or more amazing than we are. And we think, we would never be able to do that. We would never be able to just step into a lion's den, and we would never have faith for that. But they weren't any more extraordinary than we are. They were normal, ordinary people. Esther invited the king and Haman to this dinner, in her quarters, and they had this lavish dinner and she plied them with alcohol, but at the end she didn't actually tell the king what she wanted. Instead she said, come back tomorrow night and we'll do this all again. And people have, theologians and scholars and have, delved into that for years. Why did she do that? Why did she? And there are all sorts of very valid reasons that have come out as to why she did that. But this morning I was reflecting with the Lord and I was thinking to myself, Lord, what if she was just scared? What if she had them around for that dinner that night, and they ate and they drank, but when it came down to it, she just couldn't say it. She just couldn't bring herself to ask the question, to tell the king what was going on. She just couldn't. She was scared, or she was nervous, or she was anxious, or she just felt it wasn't quite the right time, or something in her spirit was like, no, not now. Maybe the king wasn't in the frame of mind she needed him to be in. And I'm not saying that is the truth, because we don't actually know, because the Bible, the text, doesn't tell us. And there are various other, reasons and ideas and concepts that people have come up with, theologians and scholars, as to why she did the 2 dinners, and that she needed her man to feel more comfortable, that she needed him to feel, and all of that sort of thing. And I absolutely concur that those could all be right. But she was a normal, ordinary human being. A Jewish girl who had been plucked off the streets and stuck into the king's harem, had lived there for a year, yes, had found favor with the people around her, had found favor with the king himself. But she had to hide the fact that she was Jewish. She had all of these things going on. And then she was chosen to be queen, and she could have thought, well, this is it. I've made it. Thank the Lord. I'm here. I'm okay. And then here comes Haman. And now she's in this space where, Mordecai has told her that she is born for such a time as this. And she mustn't think that she will be spared if she doesn't step up and do what God has put her there to do. But so that night, maybe she was just nervous, scared. She thought, no, I need a do-over. I need to do this again. I can't do this now. We don't actually know, but we forget that they were normal, ordinary people who kept putting one foot in front of the other, who kept moving forward in faith and in hope that they were in the will of God, that they were doing what God had called them to do, that they were where God needed them to be. And I think we forget that they were ordinary human beings living in incredibly difficult circumstances, who did not know what the end of the story was ultimately going to look like. But they stepped forward in hope and in faith that God was going to come through for them. And we need to take those stories and not be like, oh, wow, well, this is because Esther was just this, a fabulous person, and I'm sure she was a fabulous person, and Daniel was this. No, we need to remember our courage needs to be taken from the fact that they were normal people, ordinary human beings, like you and like me, living in incredibly difficult times, like you and like me, faced with all sorts of things that we don't even know about because they're not in the text. So based on all of that, the psalm that God has laid on my heart this morning to just speak over you, to read over you, to just, and we're going to delve into it a little bit more this morning, but and I'm going to read it to you from 4 different translations, the way that I always do, the Amplified, the Scriptures, the New King James, and the Message translation. And if there's time, I will look and see. I actually do need to just look and see Psalm 46 in the Passion translation. I really need to find my Passion translation. So we'll read it there as well. But so we're going to look at Psalm 46. And Psalm 46 was known as one of the songs of Zion, that praises Jerusalem as God's dwelling place. It was a psalm of the sons of Korah, who were the most skillful musicians in Israel, suggesting that this psalm carried enormous meaning and held a place of extreme significance, and it was possibly written or probably written during a time of war or danger. So it's a very powerful, very significant psalm, Psalm 46. Okay, so I'm going to start by reading it in the Amplified Bible. God is our refuge and strength, and I want you to just receive. I want you to just let it wash over you. I want you to, as I speak these words over you, remember that as somebody who walks in the office of the prophet, I prophesy. When I speak, I prophesy. When I speak and I read things like Psalm 46 over you, I'm prophesying these things over you. I'm speaking them over you. I'm imparting them to you. So you need to receive it like a river, or like as though you're standing under a waterfall. That's the picture that God gives me, is all of you standing under a waterfall, and the words from a psalm like Psalm 46 are just pouring down over you, just pouring down over you, the abundance and the blessing of these words, these timeless, eternal words. God is our refuge and strength, mighty and impenetrable to temptation, a very present and well-proved hope in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth should change, and though the mountains be shaken into the midst of the seas, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains tremble at its swelling and tumult. Selah. Pause and calmly think of that. There is a river whose streams shall make glad the city of God, the holy place of the tabernacles of the Most High. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God will help her right early at the dawn of the morning. The nations raged, the kingdoms tottered and were moved. He uttered his voice, the earth melted. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge, our fortress and high tower. Selah, pause and calmly think of that. Come behold the works of the Lord, who has wrought desolations and wonders in the earth. He makes wars to cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow into pieces and snaps the spear in two. He burns the chariots in the fire. Let be, and be still, and know, recognize and understand that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge, our high tower and stronghold. Selah, pause and calmly think of that. Just, do you feel the anointing on these words? Do you feel the power flowing through you as you listen to these words? Building up inside of you, setting that fire that might have been dampened down a little bit by what's happening in your lives, by what's happening in the world, just reigniting that fire inside of you. This is the scriptures. Elohim is our refuge and strength, a help in distress soon found. Therefore we do not fear, though the earth reels and mountains topple into the heart of the seas. Let its waters rage and foam. Let mountains shake with its swelling. Selah. A river whose streams make glad the city of Elohim, the set-apart dwelling of the Most High. Elohim is in her midst, she does not topple. Elohim does help her when morning turns. The Gentiles shall rage, reigns shall topple, he shall give forth his voice, the earth melts. Yahweh of hosts is with us. The Elohim of Jacob is our refuge. Selah. Come see the works of Yahweh, the ruins he has wrought on the earth, causing all fighting to cease unto the end of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the chariot with fire. Be still and know that I am Elohim. I am exalted among nations. I am exalted in the earth. Yahweh of hosts is with us. The Elohim of Jacob is our refuge. Selah. I want you to note the tense in the scriptures, the words that have been translated directly from the Hebrew. Whereas in the Amplified, for example, it says, I will be exalted among the nations, and I will be exalted in the earth, which gives us the impression of some future time when God will be exalted. The scriptures say, I am exalted among nations. I am exalted in the earth. Present tense, now. It might not look like it, it might not feel like it, but through each one of us, through you and through me, the Lord of hosts, the God of Jacob, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is exalted in the earth. He is exalted among nations. It's not a future tense thing. It will grow and grow until he is completely exalted at the end of time. But it is now. The scripture says, I am exalted. I am exalted. Not I will be, I am. The tense, sometimes when we read it in the scriptures, rather than in our English translations, it gives you such a better impression of it being present tense, not something that we're still waiting for. I am exalted. Then here is the New King James Version. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, even though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea, though its waters roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with its swelling. Selah. There is a river whose streams shall make glad the city of God, the holy place of the tabernacle of the Most High. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God shall help her just at the break of dawn. The nations raged, the kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice, the earth melted. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Selah. Come behold the works of the Lord, who has made desolations in the earth. He makes war cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow and cuts the spear in two. He burns the chariot in the fire. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I am exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. I am exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Selah. And it says, there is a note at the bottom of the New King James Version that says, God is a present help for those who depend on him. The phrase very present in the Hebrew emphasizes the speed, completeness, and might of the Lord's help. The phrase very present, where it says God is our refuge and strength, Psalm 46 verse 1, a very present help in trouble. That phrase, very present in the Hebrew, emphasizes the speed, completeness, and might of the Lord's help. The speed, completeness, and might. Very present help. In the Passion Translation, God, you're such a safe Sorry. I just want to close that down. God, you're such a safe and powerful place to find refuge. You're a proven help in time of trouble, more than enough and always available whenever I need you. So we will never fear. Even if every structure of support were to crumble away, we will not fear, even when the earth quakes and shakes, moving mountains and casting them into the sea. For the raging roar of stormy winds and crashing waves cannot erode our faith in you. Pause in his presence. God has a constantly flowing river whose sparkling streams bring joy and delight to his people. His river flows right through the city of God Most High into his holy dwelling places. God is in the midst of his city, secure and never shaken. At daybreak, his help will be seen with the appearing of the dawn, the awakening of the dawn, the awakening of the dawn. When the nations are in uproar with their tottering kingdoms, God simply raises his voice and the earth begins to disintegrate before him. Here he comes, the commander, the mighty Lord of angel armies is on our side. The God of Jacob fights for us. Pause in his presence. Everyone look, come and see the breathtaking wonders of our God, for he brings both ruin and revival. Can we pay attention to that? He brings both ruin and revival. He's the one who makes conflicts and end throughout the earth, breaking and burning every weapon of war. Surrender your anxiety. Be still and realize that I am God. I am God above all the nations, and I am exalted throughout the whole earth. Here he stands, the commander, the mighty Lord of angel armies is on our side. The God of Jacob fights for us. Pause in his presence. Just amazing. Just amazing. And lastly, from the Message. God is a safe place to hide, ready to help when we need him. Listen to this. We stand fearless at the cliff edge of doom, courageous in sea storm and earthquake, before the rush and roar of oceans, the tremors that shift mountains. We stand fearless at the cliff edge of doom. Jacob, wrestling God, fights for us. God of angel armies protects us. River fountains splash joy, cooling God's city, the sacred haunt of the Most High. God lives here. The streets are safe. God at your service from crack of dawn. Godless nations rant and rave, kings and kingdoms threaten, but earth does anything he says. Jacob, wrestling God, fights for us. God of angel armies protects us. Attention all, see the marvels of God. He plants flowers and trees all over the earth, bans war from pole to pole, breaks all the weapons across his knee. Step out of the traffic. Take a long, loving look at me, your high God, above politics, above everything. Jacob, wrestling God, fights for us. God of angel armies protects us. Don't you love that? Step out of the traffic. Take a long, loving look at me, your God, above politics, above everything. And it feels for me like this Psalm 46 is so specific for this year that we're in, this year of elections. And I've told you this before, but I lead a prophetic nest for GPA, for Global Prophetic Alliance, and it's prophets from all different nations, and we meet together every second week, and we prophesy and speak the word of the Lord over the nations. And last night, so we've because there's so many nations going into elections this year, we are, every time we meet, praying and prophesying over the nations whose elections are upcoming. And last night we prayed and we prophesied for Cambodia, Iran, and Belarus, whose elections are upcoming. And it was such a powerful time. But Psalm 46 was the psalm that was prophesied or spoken out by one of the other prophets, by Sally Davidson, actually, who's in my prophetic nest. By Sally Davidson, it was she spoke Psalm 46 out. And it was just such a significant psalm to speak over those nations, though the nations roar. And we were calling out the church in those nations, calling out the prophets in those nations. It was just such a anointed psalm, such an anointed time to have the privilege of being able to speak God's will and God's words over the nations of the earth. And I just wanted to speak about, so I told you what very present means, and then in verse 5, where it says God is in the midst of her. God is in the midst of her. And we can take that in the psalm. It's speaking about Jerusalem. It's speaking about, the Jerusalem and God protecting and being in the midst of Jerusalem. But these words are prophetic for us, for the river of life that flows over us, that waterfall we stand under. And that thing about God is in the midst of you, and you shall not be moved. And God will help you right early at the dawn of the morning. We've spoken about the awakening of the dawn, and that God is there to help us at the awakening of the dawn. We've spoken about how it's always darkest before the dawn, but we are called to awaken the dawn, to be speaking these things out before dawn even breaks. And God is in the midst of us. We will not be moved. God is in the midst of you. You will not be moved. Even if all you can do is stand firm, like Paul says in Ephesians, it is enough because God is in the midst of you. And that midst, that word used there for midst, is used 222 times in the Old Testament. Now, please, all of you who are mad about numbers like I am, can we all just be 222, significant number, right? It's used 222 times in the Old Testament, and it means inner part, inner being. The Hebrew connotation of that Hebrew word for midst means inner part, inner being. God is in your inner parts. God is in your inner being. And you will not be moved because that is where God is. He is inside you. He is in your inner parts. He is in your inner being. So you will not be moved. And then, of course, our favorite verse, the one that we love, that be still and know that I am God. We so often try to be God. So often God has to say to me, I'm God, you're not. Remember that. When I'm trying to make something work the way I think it should work, and God is doing things that I don't understand, and he's like, I'm God, you are not. I know what's happening, you do not. I see a bigger picture, you do not. And so, but that word be still, what I love the Amplified says, let be, let be, let it be, Sally, let it be. Emma Stark prophesied over my husband and I when she came to South Africa a couple of years ago, and she, she doesn't know us at the time. She didn't know anything about us, but she immediately picked up that we had sons, and she said to me, she prophesied over me, and she said to me, you have paved the way for Jesus to get to their hearts. You have paved the way. Your love and your tenderness and the way you've raised them and the way you've loved them has paved the way. It has created a walkway for Jesus to walk across and access their hearts. And she prophesied that over them. And then she looked at me and she said to me, now back off, back off, back off. 3 times for each one of my sons, back off. And it's that thing. Let be. Let be. Let God do what only God can do. Let be. And that be still, if we look at the be still, that still, the Hebrew word for still, means to relax, to cease striving, to stop trying to do things on our own. You know, we only have to look at what is happening in the world today to see the consequences, far-reaching consequences of trying to do things on our own. Because what we faced with in the world today was due to Abraham and Sarah trying to make a plan, to do things on their own. God had given them a promise. God had prophesied and spoken a word over them, but it took too long to happen in their minds, and so they tried to fix it on their own. And we live with the consequences of that decision still today. We have to stop trying to do it on our own. That doesn't mean my pet peeve is people who say, I'm waiting for God. I'm waiting for God. And my husband, often when he counsels people who say to him, I'm waiting for God, he says, God's waiting for you. It doesn't mean we don't move forward. It doesn't mean that we don't keep going until God says no, or go this way, or do this, or do that. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that we just sit and wait in like a state of paralysis. It means that we don't strive. We cease striving, and we cease trying to make our own plan. But we take the word that God has spoken over us. We take the prophetic promises that He's spoken over us, and we move forward in His strength and according to what He has said, even if it doesn't make any sense to us. We don't make our own plan. We don't think, you know what, I know God says this, but I'm going to do this because this will work. This is going to be, you know, it's okay, Lord. You worry about all the big things going on in the world. I'll deal with this thing. We don't do that. And then that word for know, where it says, be still and know that I am God. That word for know in Hebrew is yada. And it means it's not just about an intellectual recognition or even an acquaintance of the heart. It's about deeper levels of intimacy. Remember, we spoke on Wednesday about returning to our first love? Deeper levels of intimacy in the sense of covenant. It is the oneness of covenantal love. When we are wrapped up in intimacy with God, when we are steeped in the oneness of covenantal love, then we can be still and know that He is God. We can be still and know that He is God, because we are so intimate with Him and we are so wrapped up in the oneness of covenantal love, which is what that word know means. It's not just be still and know in your head that He is God. No, your whole inner being, your inner parts need to know that intimacy with Him, that oneness of covenantal love, to be able to let be, to be able to let be, to be able to back off, to be able to just relax, cease striving, and stop trying to make our own plan. It is that oneness of covenantal love that allows us to be in that space. So that is my prayer for you this morning, that God is in the midst of you. You will not be moved. God is consuming your inner being, your inner parts, so you will not be moved, and God will help you awaken the dawn. At the awakening of the dawn, He will be using you to awaken the dawn, and that you will be able to rest in the fact that you can be still and know that He is God. And I think sometimes we think be still, be silent, be, sitting in the secret place with Him. And there is that, but it's so much more than that. It's so much more than that. We can be at peace. We will not fear. We will not fear. So I would encourage you to meditate on Psalm 46, at least over this weekend or for a little while, however long God keeps you in that psalm, and to just be praying that and speaking that over your lives, over yourselves, over your families, over your communities, over our nation, over your nation, wherever you're from. And just let us all not forget that God is exalted amongst the nations. He is exalted on the earth. In Jesus' name, amen. Bless you, love you. See you on Monday at 7 a.m.